Hello, everybody. Welcome to Browns and Beyond, your home for Cleveland Browns content, NFL content, and other sports content. If you're enjoying the show, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you stay locked in with all the latest sports content. And most importantly, drop us a comment. We want to hear your thoughts. All right, boys, here we are. We're in the in-between week here. The Super Bowl, it's coming up. We got Radio Row coming up this week for the Super Bowl, and we're having a Browns and Beyond Radio Row, aren't we, here today, boys? In a way, right, Dave?
Well, yeah, interesting enough, Brent, we're going to talk about the Browns today. I find this to be interesting because we're going to kind of do an overview of the season and kind of the future direction of where this team needs to go, because there's a lot of overhaul. I believe Mr. Monken and his new coaching staff have a lot on their plate going forward, don't they, Steve?
No, absolutely, Dave. And I love talking the greater NFL, but it's our beloved Browns. And
yes,
we got a new coach. I mean, we got a lot of things to talk about today, guys.
Yep. Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. And today, like he said, we got the Cleveland Browns season in review. And we will also talk about the near future. What do the future hold for the Cleveland Browns? And we will start with Mr. Dave Greenchild in the first topic, and that is the Cleveland Browns management discussion. And we're going to go over how did Jimmy Haslam fare well, Andrew Berry, the coaching staff, and Kevin Stefanski this past season, and give us some insight possibly into the future with Todd Monken and his staff. And we will get to Mr. Dave Greenchild. Dave, give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Overall, I just have to say the season ended with 2 straight wins. It didn't end very well with Kevin Stefanski, obviously terminated following the January 5th. Not really surprised considering the team won 3 games and 5 games in each of the last 2 seasons. Now enter former Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken. Again, we talked about it before. This is Monken's first coaching job in 11. He spent 11 years as an assistant. He spent the previous 3 seasons as Baltimore's offensive coordinator. One of the major reasons, as we talked about all through the course of the season, that Stefanski lost this job is the horrible play of the offense. I mean, the bottom line is we're here largely to the deterioration of this offense.
Yeah, Dave, the play calling, they were conservative.
Right.
7-8 yard passes, too conservative. You knew what they were running, right, Dave?
Well, yeah, you know what, Steve? And it didn't...
Predictable.
It was predictable, and it didn't move in a positive direction once they switched from Stefanski to Reese. See, that was the other thing you talked about. We thought that the change from Stefanski to Reese,
very similar.
They might open things.
I thought Reese was better.
I thought he was better. But
Stefanski held him back. He still had his hands on it.
I was going to say the same thing, Steve. I remember when Tommy Reese took over. If you guys remember those games, they did pretty good as far as airing it out. But then as the weeks went by, they kind of pulled it back.
Fine.
Remember that?
Like the Tennessee game was huge.
Right.
We're finally seeing football, and then it reverts back.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes,
Conservative, predictable.
I would say this, though. I would say this. The one thing I would say about that Tennessee game, though, Steve, I think the game script kind of lent itself to that team playing hurry up and throwing the ball a lot because they fell behind by 2 scores.
Yeah, they're in free vent. They'll give up scores, and it's a high shootout. And, yeah, I agree. The game script. But you have to admit, though, Tommy Reese had a little more free flow. No more free flow, whereas I remember that game, Steve. Remember, I think I even told you. I go, he told what's his face, Shador. He goes, Shador, you got to get the ball out quick and hurry up. And I'm like, that probably wasn't the right thing to say to Shador.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, I certainly don't want to take away from Shador's best performance for what were his best performance of the year against the Titans. But again, I think what you saw was the limitations of this roster, and I'm going to get to that here in just a second. Overall, as I mentioned, 30th ranked total offense, 31st ranked passing offense, and 25. This is where Monken is going to earn his money. The Ravens were second in the league in rushing this past year behind the great Derrick Henry. They averaged 156.6 yards on the ground, 11th in scoring. Now, this was down from the Ravens having that top-ranked offense in 24 when both Lamar and Henry had great years. By the way, that was the first team in NFL history to have 4,000 yards passing and 3,000 yards rushing in the same season. Now, the good thing about Monken is he's had pretty good success with quarterbacks. The MVP season with Lamar in 23. And I would add, he also turned Stetson Bennett into a Heisman finalist in 22. And Stetson Bennett was never thought of even as an upper-tier college quarterback. He's basically turned into a clipboard quarterback in the NFL. It's going to be interesting to see how he builds the staff. Chances are he won't be calling the plays. According to Sports Illustrated, we talked about this guy, Brent. Travis Switzer, the offensive coordinator, brings 9 year.
Akron Zip.
Yeah, exactly. An Ohio guy. We love those Ohio coaches, don't we?
We do. It's Akron Zip.
When I heard that, I think of Charlie Fry and all the success he had, right, guys?
Well, let's not go there.
Okay. Sorry.
I know. It sounded so good. So Brent had to break.
I had to ruin it. I did it. What I like those Charlie Fry guys, those fans when they had the fries. I like that. Anyway, sorry, I ruined the podcast.
Got a few on Kid State jersey, didn't you, Brent?
Oh, yeah, I kind of did. And
Thanks, Debbie Downer here. We're going to try and
keep it moving. And I did, by the way, that was a buzz king. Sorry. Continue.
correction here.
Thank you, Dave.
Including 2 seasons. He spent 2 seasons as Baltimore's run game coordinator as well, working with Monken. They work closely together, in Baltimore. Actually, apparently have a strong rapport. By the way, first hire, George Warhop, hired as the offensive line coach, a veteran with decades of experience in both college and pro football. He previously coached the Browns offensive line from 2009 to 2013. He actually coached Hall of Fame tackle Joe Thomas, which I found to be, interesting as well. The real key is who's going to replace Jim Schwartz as defensive coordinator. This is the whole thing, isn't it, Steve?
It sure is. And they still might be able to try to keep him. They got to convince him. I'd have Denzel Ward talking to him, Myles Garrett talking to him.
Yes.
Coach Monken even saying you would be a key part of this team. Look how much better it will be if Schwartz is retained and stays versus hiring. If we have no choice, we have no choice. But
he might have to keep the job this year, Schwartz, because unless he gets basically an elevated position somewhere else,
Right.
the Browns can block it.
Well,
I know that for a fact.
Well, in their own division, speaking of Baltimore, and new coach Jesse Minter might be looking for a DC. Saleh out in San Francisco. They may be looking,
But he can't take the job. He's not allowed.
take the 49ers job possibly.
But he can't unless he gets elevated.
It's a rag motion.
They'd have to give him because the Browns can block it.
Well, this the other thing too, and somebody, Jason Lloyd made a good point on, the Cleveland Sports Show when he had made the point that Jimmy is willing to open up the checkbook. We question Jimmy.
Money talk.
He might bump him to keep him here.
We always question Jimmy's competence, but we don't question Jimmy's ability to open up.
He got Deshaun Watson to come here. Why can't you make Jim Schwartz stay? Right?
Now,
Pay him. Pay the man. He deserves it. You pay the man.
Steve, you had to go down that road. Now Brett Keaton's rubbing off on you with it.
Negative Nancy. Negative.
That was an example.
You want to talk about the bad weather and the earthquake and come on, 2000. Okay, anyways, continue.
Yeah, well, obviously I was going to say Monken's hiring reported caused a rift with Jim Schwartz. I think that's putting it mildly, by the way, guys. Especially considering the news of Monken getting the job. Schwartz is under the contract for one more season, but he is expected to look elsewhere after being passed over. You can't, the guy's upset. By the way, the names that are being considered as far as replacements, multiple candidates are being considered. According to Yahoo Sports, Anthony Weaver, Zach Orr, Chuck Smith, 3 of the names I'm hearing mentioned. I'm starting to warm up to Monken a little bit here. No secret, I was more of a Schwartz supporter. He was one of my top 3 candidates. He seems to have a solid offensive track record. He also seems to have that blunt, no-nonsense attitude that we talked about. We've talked about leader of men. He's maybe the opposite of Schwartz. He's the offensive side of Schwartz.
Yeah.
No, I mean, he's a blunt offensive coach, whereas Schwartz is more the blunt defensive coach. I get it. My thing is Schwartz was already in the building. It was 2 things. He was already in the building, had the great rapport with the players, and he was a head coach before. Those were the 2 differentials between the 2 that I keep coming back to. Steve, your thoughts?
Yeah, I wanted Schwartz. He was definitely in my mind the right guy for the job, but the Browns had to go offense. I think flacked so much. This is nothing against you, Jim, and I don't know who they would have gotten. We love you, Jim Schwartz, but you had to go offense. We were awful.
And what did I tell you?
It was a must-made move.
What did I tell you about Jim Schwartz? I said that I heard from valid sources he had no good plan on getting an OC.
Well,
none.
Yeah,
and that you got to consider he would have hired a young offensive coordinator but Monk has got a lot of experience.
He does. He does. And he's had some success. Now, again, that was at the college level. He had Lamar with the Ravens. So, the personnel was still there.
Yeah.
Let's get on to Andrew Berry. No secret, I wanted him to get his walking papers at the end of the season. I was for a complete clean house. He largely kept his job due to the success of the 2020 draft class. As far as I'm concerned, his overall track record as GM is just not good. I'm looking at things in its totality. I think we have to hear me, Ryan. Go ahead.
I have some thoughts that
Go ahead.
are very interesting about him.
Yeah.
What does that tell you about Andrew Berry and Stefanski? They'll bow to whatever Jimmy. I know if he gives them their paycheck, they're the puppet. But here's the deal. I know very reputable coaches in this league. They wouldn't let Jimmy do that. They'll say, Jimmy, if I can't do my job, I'm gone. So what I'm saying is they're puppets. Exactly. Thanks, Steve.
And Jimmy likes the control. He just has to have it.
Well, I have to say this too, guys. And somebody put this out. I think I also may have heard this on the Clinton Sports, and they made it at this point, that Jimmy might not trust himself to find a more competent general manager. That he's not going to go out there and find Howie Roseman.
No, correct.
Like,
That's why they kept Berry around.
exactly.
You know why? Comfort.
Exactly.
Like, for example, when you go to a bar, you want to go by yourself and meet 5 strangers, or do you want to bring somebody with you?
You got to hire someone. There seems to be there. The right day. Exactly. There's probably some top guys out there, top-notch guys, but they don't want to roll with and be with Jimmy. And they're not going to listen. They're going to, I think, Jimmy
nailed it, Dave. He's not comfortable in hiring. He can't go and get a Howie Roseman. He just can't do it.
No. And by the way, those are the better franchises. That's why Robert Kraft goes out and hires Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick, and Mike Vrabel as
and you know what
priority of the soup.
And you know what he does, Dave? He gets out of the way too.
He gets out of the way. Exactly.
And there you go.
Right.
Not our guy. Either way, one more thing. I told this to you last week. I thought we talked about it on the Thursday cast. I was wrong about Jimmy. I didn't. I thought that Jerry Jones he's the next Jerry Jones. I didn't, but he is the next Jerry Jones.
No.
He cannot help it.
I think Jones is far more competent.
That's true.
Yeah.
At least Jones. You're right. Did you really think that Jimmy was going to meddle like this? It's something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, now that DePodesta's gone, he's really back in the game. Well, he's going to be involved. He's saying, I'm not going to be involved, but I'm going to be involved.
Continue.
Well, yeah, I just to Barry's track record as GM, and it's not good. And bottom line, just look at the offensive roster. You look at the position groups we've bemoaned the entire year: the offensive line and the wide receiver position. Now, I can throw in quarterback as well, and we're going to get to that. And Steve is, we know Steve is a Shador guy, but he had said so many. If you just take the offensive line and the wide receiver position, I think he's been horrible. I still believe he deserves a fair amount of blame for the Deshaun Watson decision as well. I mean, Jimmy fell on the sword for that, but I think Barry has to take some of the blame for the Watson decision. He just does.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He does. But I feel like that. Don't you feel like that decision? That was a collab. That really,
of course it was. We talked about it. I think this past summer, the team thought they could win at that time. I mean, three of the biggest moments in the history of this franchise: the general manager front, firing John Dorsey, Baker Mayfield's injury in 2021, which I think led to Baker no longer being here, and them deciding to go all in on Deshaun Watson. Those 3 moves are largely why we're at where we're at today.
But we had a top offensive line, top running backs, wide receivers, great defense. So Jimmy just wanted to skip. We got something okay, which was Baker Mayfield, but he wanted to skip up and get like all pro, perennial, elite, and it didn't happen.
Now, to be fair, though, Steve, if we'd have kept Baker Mayfield for the 22 season, 23 season, 24 season, I maybe they make one playoff appearance over that period of time. But even with that roster,
Baker got us to a divisional round playoff.
He did. He did. But the division in the AFC was also getting better too. So, and the tough thing with the NFL is you only get a 5-year window to do this. And then eventually, players get older, and we've seen that. By the way, he did get some good news, by the way, on Friday. According to Tom Pelissero, on Friday, the NFL salary cap number is expected to be over $300 million. That means the Browns could jump from $20 million over the cap to more than where they were $10 million under with Watson's contract restructuring alone. This could be a helpful boost when it comes to making moves to improve this roster. Improving the offensive roster with new coach Monken will be the biggest goals for the Browns next season. The Browns have, the 2 first-round draft picks, 6 and 24. In April's draft, they had 10 draft picks, including, 2 first-round picks, 4 picks in the first 3 rounds. It's imperative for the Browns and Berries and for his job security to get this draft right. As far as our guy, Jimmy, Monken is the 7th coach he's hired while he's been here. The previous 6 have compiled a 73, 139-1 regular season record. That's the 2nd worst mark in the NFL over that period of time. After announcing Stefanski's firing, Jimmy bristled over the narrative that the Browns are a dysfunctional organization. Any thoughts?
Says who? What? I don't know about that.
Dysfunctional?
Have you ever heard that before?
I think if Jerry Springer was still around, they'd be on that show. They'd be on that show. Serious. They're always just. I'll tell you right now though. I thought with Jimmy having that cash and just being, he's rich.
Right.
You would have thought like he would have been a smart owner. He has not been smart.
Yeah, just by the way,
It's unbelievable.
Just in closing, as far as the competence front here, when you look at the coaching search, it ended up having more people withdraw their names than be in consideration for finalists. That's amazing. They interviewed 10 people for the opening, only 4, Monken, Schwartz, Udinsky, and Los Angeles Rams pass coordinator Nathan Shieldhouse got second interviews. This just, bottom line, continues to show the ineptitude of the Haslam regime here in Cleveland, Brent.
It just does. And I'm with you. I think that if Jimmy was smart, he would have got rid of Barry and then got somebody like a Howard Roseman. And then guess what? And have that guy tell Jimmy, hey, this is how it's done. But you know what I'm noticing about all these Browns teams, I think Jimmy got the job in 2012. I believe he was the Browns owner, something like that, right? He's never got the experienced guy. And what does that tell you? That tells me that there's some insecurities there. He wants to have control.
Yeah.
He wants to control the puppet. So until we get that done, I don't know what we do, guys.
And he came from part ownership of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Unbelievable. Didn't you think when some of the Steelers, it's going to rub off. He's going to do amazing things in Cleveland. I thought that originally before it was,
Well, and you think just bottom line, he would have found a really good football guy. I think he had one at one time in Dorsey.
Like Dorsey.
Yeah, because he had a track record of being in Kansas City, of picking players. Now we're left with Andrew Berry and Brent. We're at where we're at.
Yeah. All right, Steve Rutzer, going to get your take on management and the Browns here for the get your thoughts on how did the management do, and also Kevin Stefanski, and give us your season in review for the Browns management. How'd that go, Steve? Get us your insight on that.
Well, guys, as we know, the Browns finished 5-12 in last place of the AFC North, which many expected. Stefanski saw his fate, and to me, he wasn't a surprise on being fired. The offense ranked 31st in scoring and 30th in total yards. Yeah. Right there, right, Dave. The team averaged about 16 points a game. That doesn't get it done. Stefanski didn't recognize who played and who should have been playing at quarterback.
Right.
It was a rough season to watch with literally no offense, especially the beginning and the middle of the season.
Can I give a final thought on Stefanski?
Sure.
And I know you want to move on to some other things too, Steve. I think we all are ready to move on from Stefanski. I still feel, and I said this when we did our kind of coaching carousel, that I believe that with the ready-made roster he kind of has in Atlanta, 13 different quarterbacks in his tenure while he was the Browns coach. If he gets some stability, I think with Cousins next year, I think they win 10 games next year.
Well, get this. They're cutting Cousins. Did you hear the news, Dave?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Cousins is getting cut, but they're going to try to re-sign him if they can make the pay. Get the pay corrected there.
Right, yeah, because I thought with Cousins, that was a playoff team this year. But the thing about it is it's tough because you've got the Penix factor in there. You invested in, first round pick and
they'll probably have to start Penix.
Yeah.
You do wonder how Kirk Cousins and Stefanski could do if
I think they're going to do fine. I think Kevin Stefanski, he's going to be a good coach when it comes to an established roster. But when the Browns had to do a rebuild, and that was going to happen, and Dave and I talked about the offensive line was getting old,
yeah,
and he had to regroup, and guess what? Kevin Stefanski really wasn't built for the Browns anymore. And I think that's what happened. I know you don't like Kevin Stefanski, but I do feel like Kevin Stefanski could be a decent coach with the proper roster.
Well, and that's why I put so much blame on Andrew Berry for not replenishing the roster.
There you go. Yeah, because then you might not even be in the hot water.
Well, guys, speaking of Andrew Berry, he could have been fired, but got to keep his job, like you said, Dave, mainly due to his excellent draft class in 25.
Yeah.
And the fact that Jimmy seems to like Berry and stands behind him while overriding his decisions, as we know.
Yes.
Berry, I think he must perform in 26, though, to keep his job. The 26 draft will matter, and his relationship with new head coach Todd Monken matters, too. His offseason moves saved him as well. And we know what happened. I'll get into that.
Yes.
Let's get into owner Jimmy Haslam. He gave the guys a shot, but only winning 8-26 in the last 2 seasons, guys, had made him have to make changes. With Paul DePodesta out now, Jimmy may even be more involved, even though he's selling that Berry makes the decisions. You didn't think that was held? I know. Can't we?
Please say no.
I think he's a young GM, and they're learning together in a sense. Don't you feel Jimmy, Dave, Andrew Berry, and Jimmy Haslam are learning together?
Yeah, but we don't want that. I mean, we don't want
No, because guys, we know that Robert Kraft's way of doing things is the proper way.
Well,
When you are running a Pilot Flying J business,
yes.
you don't know crap about football. So what do? You go get a football guy. You get a Dorsey and you keep him.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Jeffrey Lurie with the Philadelphia Eagles, who's the one that hired Howie Rose.
See,
you know, I mean, you know, the Hunts who run Kansas City. You know, these you can see who the better general managers are in football. Take a look at the rosters. Take a look at their drafts over the last 4 to 5 years. And you tell me who the better general managers are in the NFL. Take a look at Andrew Berry's drafts over the last 5 years. Now, I will say this about Berry. I do think he's made some good trades. I'm going to get to that later. We've seen that. So I think if you want to throw that into the mix, this year's draft, maybe a couple of good trades here, yes, but I do not think Andrew Berry, by any stretch of the imagination, his tenure as general manager of the Browns has been a success. I just don't think so.
Well, guys, Browns fans are screaming to get rid of Jimmy, but he isn't going anywhere. And the guy's, he's the owner.
Can't fire the owner.
Can't fire the owners.
Yeah.
You know, it's unfortunate. So,
but
that kind of stop talking about
the beach nut, right, Dave?
And guess what, guys? He's not going anywhere. There's a new stadium in the future, and he's going to do his best. And that's, guess what his best thing is doing, though? Making money. He is good at that.
That's true.
So whether it's wins or losses, he's going to be around. So sorry, folks. Like you're stuck with him as the owner. I mean, well, it is.
I mean,
fans.
I think that the thing about it is they're always pointing to this Brook Park. You know, where they're pointing to Brook Park. That's like the big thing in the future is let's get to Brook Park. And I mean, I get to it. By the way, the rebuild of this roster might coincide with that because it might take that long to rebuild this roster in a lot of ways. And we're going to get more into that here in a minute. But at the same time, you're right. He makes it. I'm a little surprised that he hasn't taken a hit in the wallet on the attendance front, but I think it just shows how loyal these fans in this area are to this franchise.
Well, he's not going to feel anything. I think he's like last I looked at Forbes, isn't he top 20 in the world for being rich? He's like top 20. He's up there, guys. He is a rich guy.
It does help that Browns fans are loyal.
Yeah, that's true. They keep coming out, and you know what? They deserve better out of their ownership.
They do.
And I do think you have to blame him the most, don't you? All the turmoil we've had. The owner he's gonna take the hit. I know Jay Crawford.
And he came up publicly and admitted it, right, guys?
He
Admitted that
he fell on the sword of the problem. He fell on the sword, with the Watts-Fitson decision, which I think Berry deserves still a fair amount of blame. How you want to do the blame pie on that, I'll leave that up to however folks want to decipher that. But I think that with Jimmy, it's that, you know what, he needs to get the right people. And it's been here so long, and to not get the right people in place, it's where we're at.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into Todd Monken, guys.
Yes.
Becoming head coach was a surprise at first, but it seems to make more sense to me now.
Okay.
Berry supposedly led the way, and it was approved by Jimmy and D. That's what they say. They went with the safer hire, guys, a guy with 37 years experience versus young, unproven candidates. Monken was chosen for his experience and success as an offensive coordinator, giving them someone tough and straightforward to lead the offense, guys. Poor Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz was definitely deserving of the job, but we lacked on offense. So, they needed to hire an offensive-minded head coach, guys. Schwartz got his feelings hurt, and I felt bad for him. I don't think he could have done anything more to get this job. I mean, he was out. I mean, he did the best he could.
And he was loved by the players. He was already in the building, and he had the experience.
And don't forget, the problem with the Schwartz thing is it's not that Schwartz didn't get the job. He was led on, and I don't like that.
Led on. You hit it right on the nose. Yeah,
Has that been confirmed, Brent, though, or is that kind of secondhand?
No, it's true. He was led on. And we don't know to what extent, but don't you agree for him to get the second? First of all, damn well he got let on because he got the second interview, and then he was on pins and needles trying to. I'm getting it. And they go, oh nope, you didn't get it. It's Monken, and it's like he's just. See, I think there should have been better communication.
But guys backed out. He probably thought, ooh, I'm
step closer. See,
closer.
So that's my problem with the Schwartz thing. They let him on.
One other thing, too, at Schwartz's age, he probably doesn't think he's going to eat too many more bites at the apple.
No. Yeah, no, he's not. And nowadays, if you guys see these young guys they're because you know what? They want a coach. They want the Tomlin thing. They want a guy there 15, 20 years. They do. I think Tomlin was there about 20.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what they want.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they want.
And
it's a better investment.
Right. And I think there's like an age limit on some of these coaches. I mean, and that's why everybody's talking about Monken. He's 59 and he hasn't been a coach yet. And people are like, it's like that thing.
What's supposed to say?
If you're not married by a certain age.
No. Just went on a date and I'm 59. Yeah. Last time. What's going on there? Anyways, all right, continue, Steve.
Yeah, guys. I mean, the players respected him and gave everything for him on the defensive side of the ball. Myles Garrett was extremely disappointed when Schwartz didn't get the job. He even made an Instagram post, and the hope is that if he could be talked into staying as defensive coordinator and finishing his contract, we're hoping Jimmy and Barry could give him a promotion and make him, example, assistant head coach and pay him big money. Guys, Monken is starting to form his staff, and he's starting on the offensive side of the ball. We're creating a new identity. I swear we are becoming the Ravens slowly.
Yeah, I know. I see that. Might not be a bad thing, though.
I know. I'm okay with it. Change was necessary. His first hire, like Dave mentioned, was George Warhop for the offensive line. He previously coached the Browns, like Dave said, 2009 to 2013. He worked with Monken the last 2 seasons. He's coached in the league for nearly 3 decades. So you got a good guy here on the offensive line experience. Monken hired Danny Breyer for pass game coordinator. He was with the Ravens where he worked as an offensive assistant for 3 seasons, guys. And then he took a little risk, but he hired, as you said, Dave, Travis Switzer as the offensive coordinator. Switzer was the Ravens run game coordinator. Prior to that, he did work with wide receivers and tight ends. So he's got some experience going into it. We'll see that hopefully he could be a good coordinator.
It's interesting to see what Monken's philosophy will be offensively. I just have to say this. He struck a really good run-pass balance. Now, it's easy to have a good run-pass balance in Baltimore. You got Lamar at quarterback and Derrick Henry running a football. You got a top 5 quarterback, top 5 running back. But what I would say is when we got Stefanski, I thought he would build the offense more around the run game. Because remember, we had Chubb and Hunt at the time. We built up the line. I'm really interested to see, is it more air raid? Is a little bit more on the ground? I'm interested to see that going forward. I don't know if you have.
And from what I understand, I guess he doesn't have a one specific style. I heard he kind of adapts to what he's working with. That's what I've been told.
Unfortunately, he doesn't have a whole lot to work with, does he, Steve?
not as of right now.
The material.
But guys, the Browns went with the save move. Monken hasn't been a head coach before, like we said, but his qualifications allow him to be looked upon as a head coach of the college and pro levels. They couldn't hire Schulhouse or Udinski. If those guys end up being busts, then Jimmy would have never heard the end of it, and people would ever question, why did you fire Stefanski? And even though I clearly understand the reasoning, the national media doesn't watch the Browns enough. They're preoccupied with the winning teams. They go by hearsay. That's my opinion. You know what I mean? So Jimmy did kind of what Jimmy had to do in Barry. If Schwartz stays as defensive coordinator, then the Monken hire gets better and better. He can fix the horrific offense and keep it and not having to worry about the defense at all if Schwartz is retained and going to stay. I'm not against the Monken hire. It goes along with the lines. If you can't beat them, join them. I don't care if we look like the Cleveland Ravens. If we win football games, I don't think it will be. It will as well.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
All right. Well said, Steve. All right, we will get into our next topic. That is the Cleveland Browns offense. And really, we're just going to say, what do you like about it? What do you not like about it this past season? And also moving forward to give us your thoughts. So we will turn to Mr. Dave Greenshield. Dave, give us your thoughts about the Cleveland Browns offense there this past season.
Well, I wish there was more I would like about it. Let's put it that way, my friend. Improving the offense with new head coach Tom Monken will be obviously the biggest goal of this team, this franchise. Again, a season low 16.4 points per game, ranking 31st overall. Let's start with the most important position, which is the quarterback position. Let's go there. This team started 3 different quarterbacks. We thought so coming into the season with Flacco, Dillon, Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. Of course, the Browns traded Flacco.
Got all about that.
Yeah, well, I know. It's been so late. It's crazy. Joe Flacco seemed like many, many moons ago, didn't it?
I know. It does. But I can't believe we had 4 quarterbacks. Remember that?
Yeah, more. Yeah, because you actually had Kenny Pickett.
And Kenny Pickett was in the mix. They got banged up, and then they shipped them.
It was a scripted season, though, guys. We knew we were going to see all of them.
And we were there, at one time, there was like 5 quarterbacks. Get that Watson could be. There you go, 5 quarterbacks.
I'm going to get to him in just a second. The Browns traded Flacco to division rival Bengals after he'd started the first 4 games of the season. He threw for 815 yards, 2 touchdowns with 6 picks. Then on Gabriel, Brent's guy, got his shot to start in London against the Vikings.
Steve didn't like thumbs down.
But by the way, his best game was against the Vikings in London by the Vikings game. And by the way, that was the game where I turned on Stefanski. His clock management at the end of that game was horrible, by the way.
Yeah, you're right. It wasn't good.
He got 6 starts, winning the 1 game, throwing 937 yards passing, 2 touchdowns to only 2 picks. Enter the Shedeur Sanders era. He did go 3-4. He came in.
Oh my God, Steve's doing the Shedeur salute.
We've got the solid. Yeah, well, he came in the second half of the Baltimore game on November the 16th, replacing the injured Gabriel. By the way, over the course of his starts, he threw for 1,400 yards, 7 touchdowns, the 10 picks. Most of those, I think, were his fault, by the way, I must say. I know a lot of the Shedeurians in the world are trying to finesse that a little bit. And hey, I get it. There was, yeah. Well, but there were a few of those that were just plain bad reads. Let's just be fair. Okay. It's going to be interesting to see. We saw the relationship with him and Monken, by the way. Monken had indicated that they were going to draft him maybe in Baltimore, Steve. So, I just wonder, what his future would look like in a Monken offense. And we're going to get to that, I'm sure, in a little bit. Let's, by the way, anybody remember this guy named Deshaun Watson, by the way?
EW4.
Well, there you go. He spent most of the season recovering from a devastating right Achilles tendon rupture from October 2024, which ended the season and kept him sidelined until the second half of 2025. Watson is entering the final year of his contract with the Browns, and cutting ties before the deal expires would carry, major financial consequences for the Browns. That's a big reason why General Manager Andrew Berry has strongly suggested Watson will be back with the team next season. Does he have a chance to be a part of the Browns' 2026 offense? Is there a world where Deshaun Watson could be starting for the Browns in 26?
I think so, because Monken's here and he might take a look at it. And I know Steve don't really want to admit it, but, you can make the argument Shedeur he's just not there yet. He's still got some learning to do. And so it depends what Monken sees in him, and if he sees something decent with Watson, and and things are behind him, and he plays well and in the preseason, and they might give him a nod. That's what I think.
Steve.
Well, I disagree with Brent there. I do think Shedeur is your starter.
Okay,
but Deshaun Watson will have a fair shake for the starting job. He's one of the quarterbacks competing. So, and he does fit a Todd. They both quarterbacks fit a Todd Monken system, Dave, by the way.
Okay.
They want mobile quarterbacks. They don't have stacks. They don't have statue quarterbacks like Flacco example. Watson and Shedeur fit the mold of a Todd Monken offense.
Well, I would say this, though. Shador is more of a pure pocket guy, though, Steve, than,
But he can scramble. He can move with
Right.
Siri.
well, not to a Lamar, not to a Lamar level, though.
Watson probably fits Monken's system even better than Shador. Yeah, but I like Shador.
No, I agree with you. He's younger. We know what the situation with Watson has been with the injuries and all the missed time. I get it. Just bottom line this, guys. Do we expect the 3 quarterbacks coming in the next year to be Shador, Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, and Deshaun Watson?
Gabriel, no. I think he'll be gone.
It'll train.
He'll be gone. It'll be Watson, Shador, and
Oh, you think they draft a quarterback?
they get another one. Yeah, either draft or no, free agent.
I think they'll get a free agent.
I think Dylan will be gone. No, they're not doing that.
I think Dylan's out. They bring in a free agent, or you could pick somebody up.
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting thing. Is I've heard a rumor like a Matt Jones could be a possibility. If he's out in San Francisco, he came in and played some good games. Of course, he had the help of a solid roster, even with all of San Francisco's injuries, and Kyle Shanahan's coaching always kind of helps. A lot of quarterbacks have had success in the Shanahan offense. So,
Yeah. Who knows? Snoop Huckley might be back. He seems to keep venturing back and forth between the Ravens, the Browns, and
well, the hot name right now, based on a few good games, is Malik Willis in Green Bay. Everybody's talking hot Malik Willis. I heard Mark from the bar, our friend and Steelers fan, talking about he likes Malik Willis as a possible starter next year for the Steelers.
he had a great season for Green Bay as the backup.
Yeah, he did a good job of coming in when Jordan Love was injured. The passing game was not aided by one of the worst wide receiver groups in the NFL. Let's be honest, guys. A group of Jerry Jeudy, Jamari Thrash, Isaiah Bond, Cedric Tillman, we know it's your guy, Steve, and Malachi Corley does not scare defensive coordinators. It's not a good group. Jerry Jeudy led all wide receivers with 602 yards receiving. This is a group that was plagued by drop passes and an ability to get separation and make plays. We talked about it for most of the season. This is a group that will obviously need to be addressed in the offseason. Possibly at least 2 quality receivers are needed. Steve, your thoughts?
Yeah, Dave. I think they should draft 2 wide receivers and probably even pick up a free agent receiver as well.
Yeah, they're in desperate need of an alpha at this position. To me, they've never had an alpha at the wide receiver position. Me and Brennan talked about this maybe since Braylon Edwards in 2007. I would even take what we saw from Amari Cooper in 2022 and 23. Although he was a number one, I think he was more of a lower end number one, but he was productive both of those seasons.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Talking about another group that desperately needs an upgrade, let's look at the offensive line. The offensive line was in the bottom third in pass block and run block win rates, according to Yahoo Sports. This group has been affected by injuries, age, and they're looking at free agency and retirement being an issue in the offseason. You have the health of DeJuan Jones, a tackle, who was lost after week 3. You have a 31-year-old tackle in Jack Conklin, who has his own injury issues. And in the offseason, you could see a 34-year-old guard Joel Bitonio retire, and center Ethan Posick is a free agent. It's going to be interesting to see if Luke Whippler can step up. He was injured at the end of the season, that last game against the Bengals. They need him to step up at center, and also they need, guard Zach Sinner to step up as well. He's going into his 3rd season, going into the 2026 season. There's no doubt this is a priority in the draft. Steve, 3, maybe 4 spots needed here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's another one. I want them to draft 2 offensive linemen with all their draft picks because they have a lot of draft picks. And I would like at least 1 free agent picked up, maybe 2.
Yeah,
Won't need 3 or 4 offensive linemen.
Well, here's the philosophy. You usually can find maybe a guard or a center in free agency. Tackles are a lot tougher. That's more of the premium position on the offensive line. That's something you're going to have to score in the draft. But, I don't know if there is, as much as I don't think that in looking at this draft, I don't know if I see either a franchise quarterback, franchise wide receiver, or franchise tackle in this draft. There are some good tackles and there are some good wide receivers. I'm really down on the quarterback position in this draft. But, yeah, to the offensive line point, is there a stud tackle in this draft? An Ogden type, an Orlando Pace type? I just don't know. That's going to be tough, Steve.
Yeah, I'm unsure on that, Dave.
Yeah, we're going to get into that more when we do our draft preview, I'm sure. I will have to say there are some bright spots on this offense. I don't want to be Debbie Downer here. We have to get to Quinshon Judkins. He looks to have solidified himself as a franchise running back for the future. It's tough to say he's Nick Chubb, but, he had a really solid year. I know the numbers don't look great. He only averaged 3.7 yards per carry while amassing 827 yards on the ground. This happened, by the way, in 14 games. He missed the first game against the Bengals. He then, his season was lost to a dislocated ankle and fractured fibula, against the Bengals on the 21st of December, or against the Bills on the 21st of December. It's going to be interesting to see how he recovers. The Browns will need him to be a focus of the offense in 2026. This is going to be interesting to see how Monken uses him in his offense in 2026. Maybe catching the ball out of the backfield. And, does he get that 20 to 20 plus carries we always talked about, Steve?
Yeah, I don't think he's no Derrick Henry.
Right.
But he's pretty good. You know what I mean? So he'll be the feature back. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I don't put that average yards per carry on him. There were a number of times where he was getting the ball in the backfield, and he had a defender right in his lap.
And he's your rookie impact player as well, Dave.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, he was my preseason.
He had a really good season, I thought, before the injury, of course.
Especially considering the problems with the offensive line, Steve, and this offense overall. The other offensive weapon we got to get to is Harold Fannin Jr. Great year. He led the team with 107 targets, receptions was 72, receiving yards 731, and TD receptions at 6. He is easily the best receiving threat in this awful passing game. This is a guy that I expect to make multiple Pro Bowls in upcoming seasons. I think he's got a great future ahead of him. It'll be interesting to see how he's utilized in 2026 in the Monken offense. Monken's never had a bit. He had Andrews, I guess. Well, it's interesting. At Georgia, he did have Brock Bowers, who was one of the better college tight ends of all time. I would add, the Phantom was so good. He's made veterinary tight end David Njoku expendable. It's going to be interesting to see, with his contract situation, if he remains on this team. I did see a report, according to Yahoo Sports, Steve, that he might be signing with the New York Giants.
Is that right, Njoku?
Yeah. Yeah, because of the contract.
He is expendable.
Yeah. Overall, as you can tell, there's not a lot good with this offense. They have a lot of holes to fill in the offseason. Brett, I have to say, Andrew Berry, you're on the clock.
All right. Steve, you want to get us into the Browns offense this past season?
Well, guys, the offense wasn't very good in 25, mostly because of play calling and a little bit on talent. There were positives, though. The rookies accounted for 83% of the Browns' total yards. Rookie running back Quinshon Judkins looked good right off rip. He had 827 yards rushing, but could have broke 1,000 yards if he didn't get injured. He had the most yards for the rookies before the injury. He at times looked like Nick Chubb or better with his explosive quickness and his vision to see while hitting the holes. Rookie running back Dylan Sampson showed some promise as a dual threat weapon, producing yards after the catch. Just like Dave said, tight end Harold Fannin Jr., 731 yards, and he beat Kevin Johnson for the record for the best season as a rookie since 99, guys. All of the quarterbacks played through the ball with his, including Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. He has Pro Bowl written all over him, quite possibly to steal the draft. Rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders led the team with 1,400 yards and showed the team his excellent accuracy and ability to throw the ball and take chances. He had his 7 touchdowns and 10 receptions, but he can learn from his mistakes. Guys, he made the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Agree with it or not, but what an honor. I mean, he showed he could make plays with his legs and he could scramble and run when needed. He has a bright future ahead of him. I think he is your starter in 26.
What's going to be interesting is if they could possibly bring in a quarterback coach to work with him. His offseason is huge, by the way. It's huge. Your thoughts on that, Steve?
Oh, yeah, for sure, no doubt. I wanted to get into Joe Flacco, guys. He made a Pro Bowl, and it was the first in his career. Although most of his games were played for the Bengals, he did beat the Packers at home. Remember, it was a long time ago, or as the Browns starter.
Yeah.
One of the biggest disappointments for the Browns was the offensive line. If healthy, they're not bad at all, but they're aging and they got injured game after game. As you said, DeJuan Jones got hurt and was out for the season. Jack Conklin, he'll need replaced. Once upon a time, I liked him, but he got hurt game after game. That was always the question mark, Dan. Is he playing? Is he not? That was every week.
Well, here's the thing, Steve. I think that I said 3, 4 might be a bit much. They just need the offensive line to get back towards at least average. They can't afford to have a bottom tier offensive line. If this was a middle of the tier offensive line, which I think if they found at least 3 spots, but 3 spots may take at least 2 off seasons to get handled.
Yeah.
Tackle is one of them. I don't want to see KT Leverston back at tackle. He was a train wreck. But then does DeJuan Jones stay healthy? That's a concern. I think they need at least 3 spots.
Yeah, I want 3 spots, and I think Shedeur doesn't need a great line. He's used to it all his life not having a great line. If you have at least an average line, yes, I want it to be good.
Right.
It might be a year or 2 with, but just be a little bit better.
Exactly. And I think that would also help the run game production too. That's really, because remember we said this year, I actually thought the offensive line with run blocking was worse than pass blocking a lot of times.
No. Wyatt Teller, he had a decent season, but he got hurt and landed on the injured reserve. Joe Bitonio played well, but we'll see if he hangs him up. We'll see about that. Tight end David Njoku was clearly outshined by Harold Fana Jr., so we'll see if he's back. Jerry Jeudy, guys, he dropped balls like it was his job, literally.
Yeah.
He's clearly not a number 1 wide receiver. He got frustrated with Shedeur, but most of it was on himself. The Browns will be drafting at least 2 receivers, as I mentioned.
Yeah, to be fair, Jeudy had problems with no matter who the quarterback was.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Even with Flacco, you would have thought he could connect with Flacco, a veteran. Monken is expected to transition into a high-octane vertical attacking system, guys. The offense will prioritize explosive plays and utilize mobile quarterbacks like Shedeur to maximize efficiency. We all hope he doesn't play, but Deshaun Watson fits the mold too, guys. The offense is projected to adopt elements of the Air Coryell system, which favors stretching the field vertically and generating big plays. The defense will have to watch out for the short game and the long game along with the run and deal with the scrambling quarterback, guys. Monken goal is to make the playoffs or be a playoff caliber team in 26. We shall see about that, guy.
Yeah, I think it might take a little bit longer than that, Steve.
All right, we will get into the next topic there, and that'll be the Cleveland Browns defense. What were your thoughts on this past season? And also give us your insight moving forward, Dave.
Yep. Well, gentlemen, let's get to some of the real bright spots in 25. This side of the ball produced the brightest spot with the man that broke the single-season sack record in star defensive end, Myles Garrett. We have to talk about his season because it was incredible and record-setting. He was one thing that Browns fans could point to in an overall disappointing season. We could only wish that the 23 sacks would have produced more than 5 wins, right, Steve?
Oh, yeah. They needed more than 5.
Yeah. It was interesting to see his response to the defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz not getting the coaching position. As Steve mentioned, it wasn't necessarily pleasant there on social media, was it, Steve?
No, it was not.
Yeah. The defense has had a few bright spots in other areas, by the way, in 2025. Let's start along the defensive line, actually. This group got some solid play, particularly from the interior. I thought defensive tackle Malik Collins was playing great football, and playing alongside Myles Garrett definitely helped the cause. He notched a career-high 6.5 sacks. Collins' season was cut short due to a quad injury in Week 13 that ended the season. He was very strong against the run, Steve. And remember, the run defense wasn't the same after that injury.
No,
So that was big.
no, he was awesome. Getting him from San Francisco, and he got hurt in the San Francisco game, right?
Yeah, and you could see the run defense really deteriorated. They got ate up on the ground against the Titans.
Stopped the run.
Exactly. I remember Pollard and the Titans really tore them up on the ground. The return of Collins to top form in 2026 would be a real help to this defense, especially the run defense. Rookie defensive tackle Mason Graham and Collins were a stout pair inside for most of the season, and they'll plug up the middle of the field. The pair combined for 14 tackles for loss, while Graham was second behind Garrett with 49 total tackles. I thought it was somewhat of an up-and-down season for Graham at times. He was in the backfield making plays, and at other times he seemed to disappear. He needs to show more, in my view, to deserve that top 5 pick in the draft, Steve, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, he does it quietly. He doesn't get a lot of sacks, as we knew he wasn't going to do that.
Right.
He can stop the run, and I mean, we'll just have to see. He could be all pro eventually. We'll see.
See, I think he's
That is a sack leader, though.
I think he's a run-stopping defensive tackle, and to take a run-stopping defensive tackle in the top 5 was always questionable. To me, you better be able to do both. Be a run-stopping defensive tackle and be able to run the pass, or rush the passer, which, again, he never showed that in college.
I kind of felt this appeased Myles Garrett, though, and they want to do that. So that they might have looked at that as beyond like an outstanding player in a different position, or.
Right, understood. The Browns did get a solid year from Alex Wright at opposite defensive end, 5.5 sacks, was solid production. The linebacker group was where we saw the biggest improvement in 2025, at multiple spots, I would add. Let's start with possibly the leading candidate for Defensive Rookie of the Year. That would be linebacker Carson Schlesinger. After Jordan Hicks retired on the second day of training camp, Schlesinger competed for the defensive play calling duties. Schlesinger won the job and was a force in the middle of the field. The numbers are impressive. 146 combined tackles in 16 games. That's the 8th most in the NFL. He had 2.5 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, 3 passes defended, and 2 interceptions. Steve, I think he's going to be a force for years to come.
Oh, man, he's tough. He could be all pro himself. I really love him, man, Schlesinger.
Yeah, and I had my doubts with the draft because they had so many holes to fill on the offensive side of the ball. The Browns also got a nice bounce-back season from linebacker Devin Bush. He just finished his second season in Cleveland after playing with 3 teams in his 7-year career. The veteran stuffed the stat sheet, gobbling up 124 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 interceptions, and 2 of those for touchdowns, by the way. 8 passes defense, 2 forced fumbles, and 7 tackles for loss, and 4 quarterback hits. It would be nice to see the Bush and Schlesinger duo continue to produce at a high level in 2026, Steve.
Absolutely.
A good duo. Let's get to the secondary. And in particular, let's start with the cornerback position, which was held down nicely by a veteran, and on the opposite spot by an October 8th acquisition. I'm referring to veteran Denzel Ward in the October 8th acquisition of Tyson Campbell. The Jags sent Campbell to the Browns and a 2026 7th-round draft pick they previously acquired from the Eagles to the Browns for Newsome and a 6th-round selection they acquired from the Jets. He was a good upgrade from Newsome. I must tip my cap to Barry on this one. Campbell was an upgrade, wasn't he, Steve?
Oh, he certainly was. Newsome was actually playing at a high level, but it was best time to trade him, and Campbell's definitely a better player.
No,
Baller fits the system better.
Yeah, perfect for, the amount of man coverage that Schwartz wanted to run. Ward played in 15 games, by the way. We've always said health was a concern with Denzel, the concussions and everything in the past. Although, you look at his game log, he's played in a lot more games than you would think. He finished with 39 tackles, 1 interception, 9 passes defense. It was one of his better seasons, I thought, Steve, although it was a solid year for the most part. It's going to be interesting to see what his role is with a new defensive coordinator. Will he continue to travel with the other team's best receiver? Remember, with Schwartz, the Browns played a ton of man coverage.
Yeah, it was all man coverage, in that defensive system of Jim Schwartz.
Yeah. They, by the way, did get a nice share out of 5th-year safety Grant Delpit. He was strong in coverage and a solid tackler as well. I thought he was a very underrated player this year, Steve Delpit. He finished 4th on the team with tackles with 89. Overall, the secondary is strong at the starting positions. It could use some depth, maybe a 3rd corner. Remember, that 3rd cornerback spot did struggle at times a little bit this season. Thinking about maybe a nickel corner might be helpful here, Steve.
Yeah, they got to pick one up because Miles Harden, right? He's not the clear-cut answer, right? Yeah, they got to get someone at that position.
Yeah, the third cornerback spot seemed to struggle in coverage this season. The defensive side of the ball is the least of the Browns' problems. I would add they could use a little bit of depth on the D-line, maybe an additional cornerback, as I mentioned. This unit did get a little worse as the season moved along. The injuries and being on the field too long didn't help the cause. It's just going to be interesting to see this unit with a new DC. Will they keep that wide 9 scheme up front that Schwartz favored? Will they continue to play a ton of man coverage in the secondary? I think those are the 2 big things to watch for. The new coaching staff has some real talent on this side of the ball. Let's see what they can do with it in come 2026. Right, Brent?
Yeah, well said, Dave. All right, we will get to Mr. Steve Rexer. And Steve, give us your thoughts on the Cleveland Browns defense side of the ball this past season and into the future.
Well, guys, the Jim Schwartz-led wide 9 defense was one of the best in the NFL again. It's an aggressive attack-style defense with heavy use of man-to-man coverage, as Dave just mentioned, and a tough front 7. I hope we can keep him here, guys. Myles Garrett broke the sack record and finished with 23 sacks on the season. He will be the Defensive Player of the Year. No one can stop him. They drafted Mason Graham, and Barry picked up Malik Collins, as we said, in free agency to stop the run. They both played well at defensive tackle. Collins was playing at a Pro Bowl level before he got injured. Rookie linebacker Carson Schweitzer had a solid season with 147 tackles. He will be an All-Pro, I believe, and even next season is a possibility if he plays like he did in 25. As you mentioned, Dave, veteran linebacker Devin Butch had a great season. He had 124 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 interceptions. He could stop the run or the pass, both. That's what was good about him.
I have to say, this is the best linebacker play we've seen in a long time with the Cleveland Browns, by the way.
Oh, it is. They've been lacking linebackers for years since 99,
Well,
Many seasons without linebackers. It's about time.
And we thought that after the JKO injury that this position was really in bad shape.
Yeah, JOK was out. I thought so. Cornerback Denzel Ward continued to be a top cornerback, helping the defense finish with the 3rd fewest passing yards allowed. As we know, he's a shutdown corner. As you said, Dave, cornerback Tyson Campbell teamed up quite well with Ward. The Browns went on the deal with the Jacksonville trade of Greg Newsome. Like you said, safety Grant Delpit had his best season yet as a Brown. Monken would like to keep Jim Schwartz, but either way, he wants to keep the defense the way it is.
Right.
He may have to hire another defensive coordinator, and if he has to, he'll likely keep the same schemes we're thinking. They'll at least run the 4-3. I don't know if it'll all be wide 9 technique, but it'll definitely be a 4-3 defense.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go to any type of 3-4 defense. Now, they're drafted towards that. It's still a 4-3 defense. It's still built that way, and I tend to agree with that. I think he knows the strength of the personnel, in those areas. So I think they're going to get a defensive coordinator to cater to that.
Yeah. So with Jim Schwartz as of right now, it goes to preview the offense. Right now we're just, it's a waiting game, Brent.
All right, well said, Steve. And we will get to our final segment here, boys, and that is a conclusion about the Cleveland Browns. And just get some final thoughts on the Browns this past season and into the upcoming season. So we will start with Mr. Dave Greenchild. Dave, give us your final thoughts.
Yeah, just in conclusion here, guys, I would say Tom Bug and his coaching staff have their work cut out for them. I'm interested to see how the staff develops really on both sides of the ball. It's going to be interesting to see who he tasks to, call the plays. I think we're hearing the Switzer is possible candidate, right, Steve?
That's right. Yeah, he's getting hired. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see when that becomes official. Replacing Schwartz will obviously be huge. This team must score in the draft. I mean, overall, this is still a complete overhaul of the offensive roster. I mean, even if we exclude quarterback, let's say 5-6 starters, Steve, 2 wide, or you have 2 wide receivers, 3 to 4 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
And we still don't know about quarterback. I mean, my view is if there's not a quarterback in the draft, build up in the other areas. Because if you build up the offensive line, you build up the wide receiver position, if you continue to do those things, and then eventually you find the right quarterback, my view is, I mentioned this to my dad the other day, I said, if you surround even an average quarterback with a boatload of offensive talent, they eventually become a better quarterback than they probably are. Jalen Hurts maybe in Philadelphia was surrounded with a boatload of talent. Jared Goff in Detroit was surrounded with a boatload of talent. Again, if you don't feel the quarterback is in this draft, build up the roster in the other areas. And this offense needs built up in a lot of different areas. Again, this may take 2, what do you think, 3 off seasons to get this right, Steve?
I'm hopefully sooner than that, Dave. I mean, sometimes you can turn something around pretty fast. If they do the right things with the draft, you get a free agent or 2. You never know.
Yeah.
Playoffs, you never know.
Yeah, Steve. The good news is this division may not be as strong as it's been, in recent years. The Pittsburgh roster is in decline. The Bengals situation on the defensive side of the ball. Can Burrow stay healthy? Lamar, obviously the Ravens are starting over. They still have Lamar at quarterback, but they're starting over with a new coach, new coaching staff there behind Jesse Minter. So we'll have to see there. There is an opportunity with the Browns, but they must get these 2 drafts and these 2 off seasons and free agency right. My only question, Brent, is Andrew Berry and Jimmy Haslam capable of doing it?
All right, Steve. We will get to you on that and give us our final thoughts and conclusion and into the next season.
Well, guys, even though the team finished 5-12, there still is a lot of talent. The offensive rookies played a great season and most likely will be the starters next season. We will see what the draft brings us. Hopefully more offensive linemen and receivers, as we mentioned. If the offense could have scored more points and have had better play calling and I suppose better receivers and healthy linemen, then we could have been a playoff team. The defense is a top 5 defense.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change much there. If we can generate offense, they will really come to play.
Last thought on that, Steve, with the defense. It's going to be tough for this defense to stay at a top 5 level. And then can the offense catch up? By the time the offense catches up with the defense may be on its way, maybe starting to decline.
That's
my large concern there, Steve.
I'm excited to see Shador lead the new offense with Judkins running the ball and Fanon Jr. catching touchdown passes. We hope the new linemen come in and start, and receivers will likely from the draft and as a free agent or 2, like I mentioned. I think we can be an improved team. Shador beat the Steelers and the Bengals, so he's capable of beating anybody. Monken wanted the job, and he wants to be here, unlike the other candidates who withdrew their name from the job. It should be a whole new team, especially offensively, guys.
Right.
So, hey, let's go Browns.
Yep. All right, guys, this was good. Very insightful. Got the Super Bowl coming up next Sunday. I'm looking forward to it. Sure you guys are too.
Yeah.
Guys, have a good one. Take care.